Perfect. Just give me a minute. Okay. Well, my name is Alvin. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in today. We really appreciate your time. Before we begin, let's talk about something, I just wanted to introduce quickly to Ashish Rawat, right? Ashish Rawat, isn't just a recruitment expert. He's a career architect as well. Ashish is a powerhouse in recruitment and is a mentor to many and a strategist who truly understands what makes careers take off, right? He has over a decade of experience in staffing and recruitment, and he has not only built and led high-performing teams, but also driven over $2 million in revenue to the companies that he has served. He worked closely with the leaders from Google, Facebook, IBM, Frontier Communication, Accenture, and more, helping them find the right talent while also guiding thousands of professionals towards their next big opportunities. What sets Ashish apart isn't just his expertise in hiring, it's his insider perspective and how the job market is evolving. He knows what recruiters look for and hiring managers' prioritizations, right? And how candidates can stand out in an increasingly competitive landscape. But beyond the strategy and numbers, Ashish is someone who genuinely believes in empowering people and as well as giving out to the people with the right guidance. Whether it's just career advice, marketing insights, or just being there to support and guide, he's always ready to help. So just wanted to quickly welcome Ashish Rawat, and I'll just give the podium to him, and he'll take over the webinar that we have today.
Thank you, Elvin, and welcome everyone. All right, so we'll start today's session. Topic is very basic. We'll talk about the resume writing, why it is important, what exactly the hiring manager sees when they first look at the resume. So we have a certain content which we have prepared for you all. So we'll run one by one and we'll talk about. I just want to make sure that this session is an interactive session so that we can equally communicate with each other. Whatever doubts we have, we can talk to each other and clarify those doubts as well. All right, so Alvin, is the slide ready?
Yeah, just a second. Can you see the screen now? Sorry.
Yeah, I can see the screen. And please excuse me, I'm a little under weather, so I might pause for a bit in between and then have some water because it's a lot of cough and fever. Yeah. All right, so we'll talk about the resume writing. We'll talk about why. We'll talk about this curriculum writer as well. So we'll start about why resume writing is very important, in today's hiring process. So resume writing acts as an interface between you as a person who's applying for any job and the hiring manager, basically. So it acts as an intermediate or interface so that the hiring manager sees your profile and then you also want to represent before talking to the hiring team. So whenever it's not just about preparing a document, it's not just about preparing any content and representing that content to the hiring team for any job application. So whenever we are preparing any resume, we want to make sure that we are representing our background, we are representing our professional journey, our academic journey as well. So it's very, very important to be very precise what we are writing in the resume, what we are including in the resume, in fact. I've seen multiple resumes in my career where the resume doesn't say much about their professional experience and straight away they're declined. So it just takes a few seconds to review the resume. In fact, if a recruiter is taking too much time, looking at the resume, that means two things, basically. Number one, that recruiter is definitely reading out the resume, whatever the content is in there. Second thing, the recruiter is not qualified enough to read the resume. So if recruiter is taking time to read about your profile, to read about your experiences, which is written in the resume, that is very good things. But if the content is not good, that means that you're not able to present yourself. Elvin, can we have the second slide? I'll run by one. Okay. So why does a resume matter? So this is really important. When we present any document, it's just a first impression, and we always say, and we all know as well, first impression is the last impression. So as I said, recruiter just take few seconds to scan the resume. So whenever you are applying for any job, any role, it just hardly take few seconds to look at the resume. So there are hundreds of applicants for any single position, and a resume serves a very crucial part of it. So first thing what manager sees about you is they look at the resume. So resume need to be very precise. Resume need to be very accurate. It must show your professional journey. It must show your academic journey as well, and the achievements you have done it in the previous employment. So whenever we present the resume, we want to make sure that it highlight your impact. Impact basically means that whatever achievement you have done it in terms of the revenue, in terms of the growth, in terms of any achievement you have done. For example, let's say you have you and your team achieved a revenue of $1 million, which is really good thing, and which you want to make sure that for any job you're applying for that should be there in the resume. So it is important to highlight your achievement. It is very important to highlight everything which you have done in your previous employment. Professional growth is also very important. Let's say for any particular tenure in your previous employment, you work as an executive, then you promote as an executive, then you promoted as a team lead as well. So that is your career story basically. That is your professional growth. So your resume should say about it, because if you're not explaining your professional growth to anybody, that will also create a bad impact in front of the hiring team as well, because everybody wants to see the professional growth. And if you're spending number of years in any organization, other person should also want to know what achievement you have done in your previous employment. So resume is very important, which act as an interface between you and the hiring team. It is basically a first thing which hiring manager sees. So building a proper resume, you need to be expert of it, because everything should be there in it. Right now there's a lot of automation going on. ATS is doing a lot of automation. They search the resume on the basis of the keywords, and industry has set up particular keywords. For example, if you're applying for any job, see, I'm coming from a technical background. Let's talk about a Java developer requirement. It's very important to highlight your Java development skills in the resume. And if you're promoting your Java resume to any professional organization, it's very important to highlight your particular skill set to any in the resume. Let's say if you have worked on Java latest version, it should be there in the resume. Let's say if you've worked on APIs, if you've worked on microservices or any framework of the Spring, it should be there in the resume, because ultimately ATS will look out for the keywords, look out for the experiences, and keywords are very important, because ATS will just look out for the filtered resume, and filtered resume basically means the keywords. So it should be very clean. It should be very keyword oriented, so that ATS also should accordingly act accordingly and look at your resume as well. It's very important to refresh your application in the job portal, because ultimately whenever you refresh your application in the job portal, it will automatically pops basically at first in the job portal. So do not mention any graphical representation in your resume, because ATS will never fetch any graphical representation, no pictorial representation, no virtual representation, dashboarding, nothing. So it should be the keyword oriented resume, right? Any questions on this particular slide? Is there any question for you? Okay, I'll consider this as no. Calvin, do we have the next slide, please? Okay, difference between resume and CV. Okay, I'm sure we must have heard about the two terms which usually the HR talks about. They talks about resume, they talks about CV. So there are a lot of myths, I would say, in the market, where people say that resume stand out something different, and then CV has a different explanation. But according to me, although yes, definitely resume is a short version of your experience, your professional journey. CV is a bit longer version of your professional journey. Apart from that, everything is almost same. It's just like the American English and British or European English. We speak very similar, but there are some minor changes when we write English terms, right? But everything is, apart from that, everything is same. So resume and curriculum vitae is almost very similar, but they do have some minor changes. For example, as I said, resume has a 1 to 2 pages maximum. Whenever there is a long format, we call it as CV. There are other resources as well. It talks about your resume. Basically talks about your creativity. It talks about your technical experiences. In short, and curriculum vitae talks about your academic, your research, your publications, basically, because whenever there is any position where a person is applying for example, data scientist role, for example, researcher requirement, researcher candidates, they do have multiple publications, they do have multiple research background. So they usually provide and usually call their representation as CV. So these are the minor differences. Otherwise, everything is almost same. As I said, it's just about you know, communicating to the other person in English. It's just like, for example, European English and American English, and nothing else. Everything is almost similar. I don't think there is a much point to discuss about a resume or curriculum vitae. If you do have any question, do let me know. Otherwise, we can move on to the next slide. Okay, cover letters. Okay, so see, cover letters are really very important because whenever I mean, because I'm also coming out from a recruiting background, it's more than a decade right now. I'm working in this industry. We always require a cover letter from the candidate side. We talk about in this particular cover letter, usually the candidate talk about their particular skill set. For example, if you're applying for any particular job, and there are 4 must-have or 5 must-have skill set. The resume says everything about person's background, about their skill set, and about their academic journey. But cover letter is very specific. For example, there are 4 skill set required: number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So in the cover letter, person will define why he or she is a good fit, why he or she feels that this position is a better fit for their career. So they explain, they try to engage with the hiring team as per the must-have, as per the nice-to-have, as per the required skill set. They provide a small documentation to us. It can be a page, it can be half a page, it can be 2 pages as page cover letter. So cover letter is just a small synopsis or small blurb about the must-have skills or nice-to-have skills, and why they feel that they are a good fit for any particular requirement. So it's always advisable, and it's always it shows a professionalism basically when you attach a cover letter along with your resume or your CV. But yes, cover letters do play a very vital role, just to attract the hiring manager, because whenever they see a profile along with the cover letter, they always open the cover letter and they always read out what content you have written in this particular letter. So as the content says, many things cover letters are outdated. I would say no, it's not outdated. We still ask candidate to provide the cover letters, and cover letters do play a vital role. We got multiple hires in the past. We still get multiple hires right now with our customers in our staffing agencies. But yes, I would say cover letters do play a vital role. As a 3-pointer says, provide context, explain career gaps, transition, and unique experiences. See, the candidate always talk about why they feel that they're a good fit. They can talk about their any particular X factor which they want to include in the cover letter. They can talk about, if let's say there's a gap in between, they were not well, they met with an accident or XYZ, any reason. They can always explain in that cover letter why there's a gap in between for certain tenure. They can talk about their story. Story basically means their achievements, right? Because on the resume, you cannot explain everything. So they can talk about their story. They can talk about their X factor or any particular important skills which they want to showcase in the in front of the hiring manager. Shows the personality. So basically, personality rather than personality, I would say it's more of a professionalism, because out of 100 people, 90% candidates will not provide a cover letter. So out of those 100 candidates, if they're applying for any certain job, if 10 people can provide a cover letter, and out of those 10, if 3 have has a good cover letter, or they can provide some additional information which can be or which will be helpful for the team, then definitely that can play a vital role. That can be very important to them as well. So cover letter, I would say yes, if you're applying for any job, or if you're asking any candidate or any person who is applying for any particular requirement, do ask them that, so that they can explain their important skills, or what they feel that why they feel that they're a good fit for any particular position. In our recruitment industry, we always do ask for cover letter. So yes, this is very important. Any question on this? Okay, I guess no. Elvin, next slide, please.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't be taking much time here, because we all are working, all are using the applicant tracking system. in some or the other way. Applicant tracking system is just a filter basically. Before a human sees any resume, applicant tracking systems filter out the resumes as per the keyword. For example, and why it is important, because I'm sure most of you are from a recruiting background, or even if you're not from recruiting background, it's very easy to understand how ATS works and what is the importance of ATS. So I'll quickly wrap this up very quickly, and then we'll make everyone understand why this is important. So whenever we are uploading our document in any of the job portal. Let's say we're uploading any resume in any of the job portal. And if you're running a search, so ATS will help us find the right matches, because there are multiple applicants for any particular requirement. Let's say if you're looking for any Java developer in Bangalore location, so a recruiter or any HR will look out for the candidate in Bangalore location. There are thousands of Java developers available in that location. So how the person will filter out who's the best person for their job. So applicant tracking system will help them to filter out the resumes. So applicant tracking ATS works on keywords basically. If you haven't mentioned the keywords properly in the resume, applicant tracking ATS will not filter out your resume. So once you mention everything in the resume, so it is very, very important to mention every keyword in the resume. For example, if you're a Java developer, if you're a business development guy, if you are a marketing person, you should mention, or you must mention every keyword which you think that is very, very important and which is usually used in the for any particular job. And I'll take an example, make you understand how this works, and I'm sure everybody knows it, but I'll give you an example of that. For example, if you're applying for any Java requirement, in the resume, what do you see? You see the Java development, you see the version. Generally, version 8 is used right now. JDK 23 is working, is used in the market. But yes, generally Java 8, Java 11 is used. Spring multiple, Spring framework, microservices. So if a person has mentioned multiple keywords which will attract the hiring team, then obviously ATS will filter out those resumes and will present those resumes in front of the recruiting team as well. So yes. Again, I will say ATS will never fetch any graphical representation. It will only fetch the keywords. They will never fetch any dashboarding or any pictorial representation or any visual content. It will again only fetch the keywords. So try to mention the appropriate keyword for any particular job you're applying for. And it is very, very important, because ultimately this you can consider this ATS as a first point of review, and accordingly they can your profile goes forward to the hiring team. Okay, Alvin, next slide, please.
Yeah, Ashish just quickly had a question on the ATS topic, right? So you talked about an example where you said about Java profiles, right? Java candidates, for example. So if there's a candidate who has a Java profile and has mentioned his projects on the hyperlink, right? For example, he has mentioned the hyperlinks of the projects where he has worked, or she has worked in the previous organizations. So if they have mentioned in every single project where they have worked, does this affect in any way with the ATS? Like, does it consider it spam or anything of that sort?
No. So Alvin, basically hyperlinks or GitHub portfolio, these are the additional information when your profile goes to the hiring team or the recruiter who is looking out for you. They can obviously click on that link, and then they can have some additional information. But yes, keywords are very, very important.
Sounds good. Okay.
All right. Okay, so resume formatting best practices. So now, see, we are when we work on the resume, and Alvin, I just want to make sure that right now all the applicants who are present here are all of them are basically from recruiting background, or they do have a different background?
They have different backgrounds, I believe, Ashish.
Okay, so see, whenever we present any resume, formatting is really, really very important. Why I say formatting is really very important? Because first impression always matters. Recruiter often scan resumes in seconds. A clear structure layout help them to quickly find, find key information. It also improves scalability because when we format the resume, for example, if you're providing if you're uploading a resume who has a multiple gaps in between, who has a multiple format fonts in the resume, that resume will not look very good. ATS will fetch those resumes, obviously, because you have already mentioned the keywords. But if the formatting is not good, recruiter or the hiring team will not take that forward. So every part of formatting is very, very important. uploading the resume, starting from preparing a resume, uploading that resume, and presenting that resume in front of the hiring team. Every part is very, very important. So a well-formatted resume is very crucial because it improves scalability. It always, it also shows the professionalism as well. It also shows the professionalism impression as well. It also increases the chance of passing the applicant tracking system. Because ultimately, when you provide a proper formatted resume, proper scrubbed resume, proper what do you say, detailed oriented resume about your personal professional journey, ATS will automatically fetch those information. And really, it is very, very important. As I said, first impression, your resume will always create a first impression about you, and it will help the hiring team understand what work you did in the past, what experience you have it, and what project you have done in the past. So it will make them understand why they are approaching you and why you are approaching for that particular role, right? So make the resume ATS compatible as well, because ultimately, if you're not providing the proper keyword, ATS will not fetch your resume, right? So poor formatting will obviously cause a job for you, because poor formatting means less detail oriented, less keyword oriented, and obviously ATS will not fetch your resume. The important perspective is the professionalism, as I said, because a good formatted resume shows a good professionalism as well. See, whenever we forward any, or whenever we apply any job, apply for any job for any particular role, a good formatted resume always create a good impact in front of the hiring team. For example, if I'm applying for any managerial position, and if my resume is not properly formatted, if my resume doesn't show my revenue growth, my professional growth, my team growth, my my achievements, then my managerial position will not sound really good. And if the formatting is not properly done, if my achievements are not properly mentioned in the resume, if my targets are not properly mentioned in the resume, what was my target, how much I have achieved, those things are not properly mentioned in the resume, then ultimately, considering the fact that I'm applying for a managerial position, nobody will reach out to me for any particular role. Although I've applied multiple places, but nobody will reach out to me. So I need to be very, very specific why I'm applying for this particular role, what is the motive, and how we can engage the hiring manager as well. So better organization, or better, organized resume is very, very important. Well structured resume is very, very important. So that is why resume formatting is very, very important part for applying any job. Um, in this, you can also talk about choosing the right fonts as well. Because see, there are multiple fonts available in the Word document. Generally, people uses Times New Roman or Calibri or Arial for that matter. But yeah, you can choose any font, but you have to make sure that formatting is properly done. There's no much spacing in between. A summary section should be there in the resume, and summary is just a blurb about your professional experience, about your academics. So you need not to put everything in the summary, because for that there is a professional experiences where you need to put everything in it. But summary is just a blurb about your professional journey, why you're applying for that particular role. So objective should be there as well. It will also create a good impact. And objective is very detail oriented. For example, if you're applying for job A, objective should be aligned as per the job A. And if you're applying for job B, then objective should be aligned as per the job requirement B. So objective or a goal is very detail oriented. But yes, summary is you can put as generic, because it's just a blurb about your whole career, right? Work experience should be there. Work experience, you can differentiate work. For example, if you have worked for any organization for 5 years, that means you must be promoted there. So you can always categorize your promotion in a way where you can mention the responsibilities in each of your professional job. Let's say, as I said earlier, that initially you were executive, then promoted, and senior executive, and then lead. So you can describe responsibility accordingly. But yes, you can let the manager know that this is how your career grow. This is how your professionalism also grow, because ultimately when you got promoted, your responsibility also grown, and your maturity also grown. So it will also create a good impact in front of the hiring team. Always try to put your education on top of your above your professional experiences, because in India, generally we or our parents target education more than anything else, right? Certifications and education should be there in the resume, and it should be there, it should be in, like, for example, highest education should be there at the top, and then second highest education, and then third higher education, in that format. So this is very, very important. Resume formatting is really very important. um any question for me, any doubt for me? Okay, I'll consider that as no. um I think, Elvin, we covered this particular slide. We spoke
Yeah, I'm
about
just going ahead. Just giving it.
reverse chronological. Okay, so reverse chronological, functional, hybrid. This is very, very easy to understand. Uh, See, I'll provide you my personal preference as well. I'll provide the brief explanation what all these three things are basically. Uh, so let's read the slide. So reverse chronological, basically, it's more of recent work, right? So it starts from it's basically start from your recent work and then goes to the bottom, then second recent and the third recent. In that format, we use this particular method. Functional is kind of where a person focuses more on their skills, more on their achievement, more on their targets. They try to a person if a person is formatting a resume in a way that in a functional way. So generally they try to hide the gaps. Or if let's say if a person is job hopper, so a person will always try to focus more on skills rather than focusing on their professional journey. So for those kind of people, they use or they prepare a functional kind of a resume. Hybrid is blend of both. I mean, functional and reverse as well. So generally, if you see any resume in the market, or if you prepare your resume, and I'm sure you all must have prepared your resume. So reverse chronological is the best way to present yourself. It is most professional. It is easy to scan. It is easy to understand. If somebody, let's say, if a recruiter is reading a resume and the recruiter is just a year experienced recruiter, so a reverse chronological resume will also be easy for him to understand your professional journey. So, in my personal opinion, use reverse chronological resume. In that way, the strong representation will be there in it, and everybody easily can easily understand your professional journey. So it's just about showing your top experience at top in the top, and then accordingly you can go down as well. So it's just about showing your representation. Um, I also wanted to include about while we're talking about the resume formatting, it's always important to understand how we work in any organization. Let's say if we are working in executive, because we haven't covered so far where we talk about the leadership positions. I'll talk about leadership positions. I'll talk about certain jobs and responsibilities which you can mention in the resume. But if let's say if you're an executive, so as an executive, it's very, very important, because as an executive, your responsibility is to just do a task, is just to do your job, which is assigned to you, right? Whether it's about building any application, whether it's just about coding or testing or anything, but it's very, very important to mention each and everything in the resume, because the hiring team also understands. Just being an executive, you must have not done multiple things in your professional career, but you also need to understand whatever work you have done in your previous employments or in your previous engagement, it should be there in it, right? And write those things only in the resume which you can explain during the interview. It's very, very important, because I've seen multiple people writing multiple things, for that matter, multiple languages. If they're proficient in Java, if they're proficient in Python, they do write multiple languages in the resume. So it's not advisable to write everything in the resume. The only thing you can write, which you can explain during the interview. Um, any question for me? Okay, Alvin, next slide, please. Okay. So I won't go one by one on each bullet points, but I'll give you a brief snapshot about the leadership position. See, I've been in this leadership position almost now 4 to 5 years now. I'll count my associate manager role as also a leadership position. Right now, I'm working as a manager here, as a DM basically. So it's been now 4 to 5 years. I've encountered multiple scenarios where my boss spoke to me about my leadership qualities. How do I manage a team, and what are the qualities a person sees as a leader, right? So there are multiple things, and I always speak to my team as well. I always speak to my boss about the leadership, and we always have a good discussion about leadership. So as a leader, what do we expect basically? We expect somebody who can run a team in a good manner. As a team, everybody should achieve their target. As per the budget, you complete your task. Uh, you know, you should be good with people management as well. You should take a stand for your team and your peers as well. So everything covers the leadership and in this particular role. So as a leader, it's very, very important you do cross-functional and cross-collaboration work. It's very, very important to understand what is cross-functional and cross-collaboration work. There's a very minor difference between cross-functional and cross-collaboration work, and both are almost same. But then whenever there's a need, so leaders should step in, and then it's very important to understand what is cross-functional cross-collaboration. So whenever we are presenting any resume, whenever we are preparing any resume for any leadership position, let's say you're applying for any role where you need to showcase your leadership skill, talk about your achievements, talk about your growth, talk about how your company grow with your achievement, talk about statistics, facts, and figures. So these things should be there in the resume. Talk about your people management skills. Um, how you, with your leadership and guidance, how your team performed really well, what their achievements. Let's say if you have a team of 10 people, if you have a team of 20 people, if you're managing a group of people, basically 40 people, 50 people, how many of them, or what was the percentage who achieved their yearly target, who got their bonuses. I mean, you can always talk about fact and figures. And in the leadership position, everybody wants to know about the fact and figures. Everybody wants to know about the statistics, and always run the numbers. Do not shoot in the sky without any actual facts and figures. So whenever you are presenting any profile, or if you're preparing your resume for any leadership position, always talk about the percentage, always talk about the fact and figures and statistics as well. So it is very, very important. Data driven resume building for any leadership position is very, very important, right? So this is the summary snapshot of this particular slide. And as a leader, you need to make sure that whenever you are presenting your resume for any position where you're applying for any role, you need to make sure that these things must be there in the resume, and it should be there with each of your employment, right? And it's very important to talk about the people management skills as well, because most of the people forget, or most of the people usually don't include the people management skills in the resume. So it's always important from the day one you step in this leadership position, the people management skills automatically comes in. So whenever you are presenting your resume for any of the management position, these things should be there in the resume, along with the required responsibility or the task you have performed in your previous employment, or what do you say, the required skill set for any job for which you're applying for. So those things should be there in the resume, but these are the additional things which you can add in the resume, and obviously manager will definitely look those things, and you can highlight those things, obviously. And if you're not comfortable, if you're not okay to present those things in the resume, you can add those things in a separate letter, or you can provide that letter to the hiring team as well. And obviously those things will definitely create a good impact. You can also attach the URLs. You can also attach videos as well. You can also attach a pictorial representation of your achievements, or anything which you can add, which you can showcase which you can showcase to the team as well, the hiring team. So anything which will create a good impact to the hiring team for these leadership position, which can show your people management, your skills, you should always present those things in the resume, or you can also attach a separate letter to that. Okay, any questions or any doubt on this particular slide?
Guys, please feel free to have any questions. Ashish here has worked for a long time, and he has expertise on this, right? So if you have any queries or anything like that, you can definitely go ahead and ask that question, so you can get their answer firsthand, right? Instead of going to someone else and having the same question. So you have this opportunity to have a face-to-face conversation with Ashish. You can do that.
Guys, speak up if you do have any question. Do let me know.
All right, we'll just move ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about this. Elvin, next slide. I think this is. Okay. So 1 second, please. Okay. So this is very, very easy to understand, and we must understand this thing, that how and why we are presenting our profile for any particular job. So it's always it is very important to understand what we are adding in the resume, being as a fresher or being as an experienced person. So we need to be very specific with the keywords what we are adding in the resume, or any particular sentence, whatever we are adding in the resume, or any particular in the CV as well for that matter. So as I said in my previous slides, accomplishment, leadership, right? Your achievements, your fact and figures, your statistics, revenue percent growth, or growth percent, I would say, revenue, the amount you gave to the company. So you can add those things as an experienced professional. And if you're applying, so these all things are basically for functional, or you can say tech functional role. But if you're applying for any technical requirement, your motive is to present your technical skills basically as an experienced person as well. If you're not applying for any managerial position, if you're applying for any senior executive or leadership, let's say senior software engineer position, you should talk about which language are you using it right now, or which version are you using it right now, why this word. I mean, you can also talk about during the interview, but you should also you should know which version is recently used in the market. For example, I'll give an example on that. Because I talked a lot about Java during my staffing industry days as well, and right now I always try to read and try to engage myself in Java development side of it. So uh, there is a very basic difference between if anybody has seen in the resume, there's a thing written Java 8 and Java 1.8. So a lot of recruiters won't understand why these two things are written in the resume, although they both are very similar thing. They do are same exactly basically, and why Java 8 is most commonly used in the market. So recruiter won't understand this thing, right? You need to make sure present your resume accordingly so that other person who is looking at your resume should understand, or should be able to understand basically the content you have written in the resume. Because the one who is looking at your resume, who is qualifying your resume, possibly that person won't be coming out from a technical background if you're applying for any technical job. So you need to present your resume so that the first screening from the HR side, and that also passes through, and then your resume should go to the hiring team, who actually will going to read the resume. So it's very important to use the appropriate keyword so that everybody should understand, and always work on the facts and figures as well, so that, because fact and figures always looks very impressive. If you say that I've achieved my 200% of my target, which was assigned to me last year. So obviously, everybody will easily understand what was your target and how much you have achieved. So it will create always a good impact on each and everyone who's looking at your resume. So always try to engage all those pointers in the resume, whether it's a technical job or whether it's a functional job or non-functional job you're applying for. So it should be there in the resume. For a fresher, just a piece of advice for a fresher: do not use multiple spacing in the resume, because I've seen multiple resumes of the fresh graduates. Basically, they use multiple spaces. They use big photograph in the resume. So photograph should be I mean, not too small, not too big, just a medium size. But then you should talk about your academics, because 3 years and 4 years you have done your bachelor's, right? So you should talk about your academics. You should talk about your project, the work, the project you have created in your college or in your university. So those things should be there. Your what do you say? Your communication skills. How much are you good at? So you can add those things in the resume as a fresher. So just a piece of advice for a fresher: do not make your resume too lengthy, because obviously you have not done it. You don't have any professional experience, so your resume can't be too lengthy. Just try to make it within a page, and without any spacing. Use a proper font. Font size is really is important for you, for you people, because you are coming as a fresher. So font size really matters. Photograph really matters. Use a medium size photograph. Do not try to engage yourself with a big photograph or a small photograph. Uh, and that's it. I mean, nothing else. Your skills, your professional journey, everything should be there. But then focus more on your academics. And if you have done any training or any personal achievements, you should also add those things. And that's it. Nothing else. Any question on this?
Yes, hi Ashish, I have a question. Many of us job seekers, we struggle with the skill section of our resume. So how can we ensure that we list the right skills needed for a job without making it look too generic?
Okay, so which skills are you, I mean, what are those skills basically you're talking about?
The skill section which we put in our resume, in that part.
My question to you is basically, what are those skills? Are you talking about technical skills or any other skills? Because accordingly, we can mention those skills in the resume. So what skills are you talking about?
Both of those, technical and the non-technical part.
Okay. So basically, the thing is that, you can add the skill section in the resume, but the skill section, for example, if I'll give an example of that. I'll give you the both examples from a recruiting perspective as well, and then from a candidate perspective as well. Let's say if you're applying for any technical job, especially, and if you're also applying for any non-functional job, so there are two different things, and you can add both the skill set accordingly. Let's say if you're applying for technical job, for any technical job, you should mention your because as a technical, you should have the database background, you should have the language background, you should also understand the relational and non-relational databases, because there are multiple things comes under that DB section. So everything should be there in it in the resume. Do not highlight those things which you have never worked in your professional career, because ultimately, whenever questions will be asked in the interviews, the person will not be able to explain those questions, because these technical things are not the things where you have heard somewhere and then you can explain to the other person. No, if you have worked on those particular section or particular skill set, then please mention those things. Otherwise, do not mention anything in the resume. but for non-functional requirement, see, skill set, you can also add few more details. For example, if you have worked on XYZ skill and you know a little bit more about ABC skill as well, so you can add those skills, because functional requirement does not require multiple and expert knowledge on any of the skill. So if you can talk about those skills, you can add those skills in the resume, because those skills will not create any big impact if you don't have any experience. And second thing, I hope this is clear. If you have any question, do let me know.
No, I got it. Thank you so much.
Hey, Ashish, I would just like to add here, if you don't mind, just like to add a pointer. So I believe, Vidisha, when in terms of writing the skill set on any resume, right? If it may be technical, may be non-technical, so you'll see in the further slides as well that what you'll have to do is you'll also have to look at the job description that you're applying for. So let's say in case if you're applying for a role that requires a certain set of skill sets, right? So you'll make sure that those skills are highlighted in the resume in the skill section. That's what the goal is, all right? Because when you mention multiple details in the skills section, it confuses the hiring manager as to what is important, what is not, and what is your expertise, where does your expertise lies. Absolutely, as Ashish said, you're not going to lie on the resume. You're going to talk about what you have done. So you just have to match what let's say match your skill set with the job description. Whatever skill you have to just highlight it in the skill section.
Got it. Thank you.
I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, Ashish, thanks Ashish.
Okay, thanks, Joel. Alvin, next slide, please.
Yeah. Just a second, it's taking a little time. Can you see it, Ashish?
Yeah. Okay. So as Joel said, tailoring the resume as per the job description. I was about to come on that section, but thank you, Joel, for briefing that one earlier. But then this is very important. So Madisha, which you said about the skill set, it is really important to read the job description first, and then accordingly prepare your resume and your skill set, because ultimately, if you have the skill set required, which is required in the job description, do highlight those things in the resume, and those things should be there. But if you do have any background, or if you do have any understanding on the skill set required, or let's say for that matter, nice to have requirement, do highlight those things, because ultimately, if you mention that you do have understanding, ultimately the other person will understand that this person does not have the professional experience, but also this person has some understanding. So this is really important to prepare your resume accordingly, and tailoring of each job is really very important, because we need to understand the job description first, and accordingly we have to prepare our resume, because single resume we cannot float everywhere, right? And obviously there are multiple skill set required on each job, and everybody has utilized multiple skills on every engagement. So it's not easy for everyone to include everything in one page or in 2 pages. So accordingly, we can prepare our resume. Accordingly, we can tailor our resume and present for any particular requirement which we want to apply for. Okay, so there are multiple words which we can avoid or which we can use. For example, which is written in the resume as well, which will also create a good impact while other person is reading your resume. For example, the marketing strategy, the alternative keywords we can use as digital marketing, brand positioning, or growth hacking. For leadership, we can always use a team management, because ultimately we take our team together and then we build a team as well. People development, which I personally call as a people management, change management. This is also a very important part of the leadership as well. Data analysis. So data analysis, it's really is anybody in this session has a data background or coming out from a data analysis or engineering background? Front of you, right? So what background do you have?
Sir, MSc Mathematics.
Mathematics. So are you a fresher or you are
I'm
a professional?
Professional, sir.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so for any data analysis, I'll give an example, because see, Pranav is coming out from that background. I'm not sure how much will that be helpful for him, but I'm sorry. But for any data position, let's take an example. If you're preparing your resume for any data analyst requirement, so it's very important you mention your SQL skills. You mention your proficiency level of SQL. For example, you can always mention your intermediate or your expert on SQL. You can also talk about your keys. Also talk about your joins. You can also talk about your complexity of preparing the queries as well. So there are a lot of things which will automatically attract the hiring manager while reading your resume, because these are the important things which will be very important as a professional, as an analytic professional. BI and data visualization tools are also really very important, because ultimately, if you're working on data, if you don't have any data visualization tool or BI tool, your data analysis or your data analytics background is not even a good use of good use, basically. So if you don't have a good SQL, if you don't have a good data visualization or BI tool experience, and if you're not able to mention in the resume, if you haven't mentioned the resume, that means that you are just floating your resume. Nobody will care enough to see your resume. So these are the very important things which you can add, and these are the very important things which you should add in the resume as the analytic professional. Okay. As also, I want to add about the data side of it, because it's very important to highlight how complex queries you have run in the past. So as a data professional, it's very important to mention each and every, especially for example, if a person is coming out from Google background, right, and he has worked there as an analytic professional. So that means, because the amount of data they basically means Google works is basically a huge, right, and or any startup company, they use the data. There is a big difference between an MNC company and a startup company, right? So we cannot compare somebody who's coming out from a startup company and who's working in any of the MNC company. So if you're applying for any MNC company, if you do have mid-cap organization background, or if you do have any MNC background as well for that matter, so try to make your resume very impactful, because if you're applying for any MNC organization, they want to see how much data sets you have handled, or how much you love to play with the data, because it's all about data, right? They want to make sure that you understand the data really well. You can play with the data really well. You can run the queries really well. You know how to use the tab. You know how to use the Power BI. So there are multiple skill set which you can add in the resume. So it's very important. You read the job description first. You read the requirement. You read the manager expectation. If you are able to see the manager profile, or if you're able to get some background of the manager who is hiring for any particular position, read about his background as well. Accordingly, you can prepare your resume, right? So it's very important to read the job description first, and accordingly prepare your resume and your skill set as well. So these all are the very important aspect while preparing your resume, whether you are a fresher or you are a professional, basically, right? Any question on this? Okay, I will consider this as no again. Next slide, please. Okay. Um, let's say if you're an IIT graduate, okay, and you're applying for any fresher, as a fresher job, or you're applying for your first job, and you're IIT graduate. So, what do you think? You should focus your academics, or you should focus your skill set first. So, I would rather say focus on academics, because IIT has its own place, right? Similarly, if you're coming out from any big university who has a name, so for that matter, VIT, or any other university who has a separate name in India or in the world as well. So highlight your academics. Education is really really important, because if you can convince the manager that you have done your education from any particular university or college which has a name in the world, or in any other country, so a manager will automatically would like to speak to you, right? So if you're a professional as well, with certain years of experiences as well, so try to engage the manager with your education background as well. Whenever you prepare your resume, generally how we prepare your resume. So whenever we prepare our resume, we just try to put our name at the top of it, and then we prepare a small blurb about our background, and then we always try to put the education after that, and then it comes the professional experience, and then other skill set which are required. So if you can sell your education, that is really good, because ultimately manager want to see the academics as well. And in India especially, education matters a lot. I would still say, if you don't have the professional background, and if you do have a good education, everybody wants to see the education, right? In US or in any other part of the country, part of the world, I know they do consider education, but more than education, they do consider professional experience. But still in India, a lot of companies do consider education over the professional experience. So always highlight your degree in the top of your resume. Always highlight your certification in the top of your resume, because certification in India, it's not very common that you do multiple cert. So certification should be there in the resume. If you have any professional certification, try to activate your certification regularly, because there are multiple certification who has certain years of bandwidth, right? So after that, they get deactivated. So try to make sure that certifications are updated, you're active as well. Your education should be there in the resume. And just highlight your university if that university has a name in the world, right? So these things are really important. Any question on that? Okay. Okay. So this is a very interesting topic, and I'm sure nowadays everybody is using the AI. Everybody is using the generative AI tool. We are also coming out from a recruiting background, and see, if not from recruiting background, everybody nowadays at least using the chat GPT, right? So chat GPT, considering it as a generative AI tool, there are multiple generative AI tool. Even the WhatsApp has its own generative AI tool. Google has its own, and then Meta also uses its own. There are multiple AI tools available in the market who saves your time, which are obviously cost effective, who check your grammar regularly. So why to use AI, and is AI use of AI is worth it or not? Very interesting debate. We can always talk about it. But see, if there is a very important aspect which you need to understand. Obviously, AI building your resume using AI will definitely save your time and efforts, which is a first pointer, and I totally agree to that, because AI tool can generate a polished resume in minutes. Definitely yes. Saving hours of manual formatting and writing, definitely yes. But again, this will lose your human touch, right? Let's say, definitely AI can generate your resume very quickly, but if you think that you can add certain things which you cannot explain, or you cannot give a command to the AI, AI will not include those things in the resume. So if you want to include a human touch in the resume, if you want to include a certain things which AI is not able to generate, definitely you can add those things by yourself. So according to me, definitely you can use AI, but then you can use blend of both. You can work on your resume on your own as well, and then you can use certain things which certain pointers you can take it from the AI as well, which will obviously save your time, efforts, money as well. And then right now, time is everything. So if you can save your time, you can definitely use AI. But obviously, I would still say, just to be on a safer side, always try to engage yourself and always try to put your words in the resume as well, right? And always try to put a layout and a structured format resume as well, because obviously AI will generate a certain format, but if you want to include on your side, that will be good. Okay. Yeah, I mean, see, um, definitely, I would say definitely we can use AI. If we are not using AI for anything, it's not about resume formatting. It's about everything. If you're not using AI, that means we are not up to date in today's era. So definitely you can use AI. There are multiple things. There are multiple platforms as well, and there are multiple things you can cross verify using AI. You can check the grammar as well. You can check the spelling. I mean, grammar, spelling mistakes, and multiple things you can alignment for that matter. You can utilize AI accordingly and properly format the resume. But yes, there are multiple tools which are mentioned here: Grammarly, JobScan, ChatGPT, Cloud AI, which I know personally. So I'm reading out those particular names. Skill Syncer, Resume Worded. These I have used personally, so I can recall them. They are good. You can go. You can definitely use them. But there are multiple other names mentioned here as well. So you can definitely use one, and then accordingly you can uh, decide yourself. Okay, Elvin, next one,
Yeah,
please.
just moving forward. Yep.
Okay, so I still remember when I joined my first organization in Ahmedabad, there was a person who uses the LinkedIn at that time actively for recruiting purpose. I was not engaged at that time heavily on LinkedIn, but somehow, right, during my professional journey, I understand LinkedIn is really very, very important, because ultimately, more than 50%, I would say more than 50% hiring is right now is done through LinkedIn. And the content written in the resume, LinkedIn has the most updated version of it. So LinkedIn is basically more structured or target oriented. It LinkedIn profile will definitely provide more holistic and dynamic real-time updates about your profile. So LinkedIn profile, generally people always try to maintain their LinkedIn profile and keep them updated on a real-time basis. So recruiters generally prefer to view the LinkedIn profile at first, rather than going through the resume and do the active sourcing, because right now everybody has the LinkedIn premium. You know, and every once if someone is familiar with the LinkedIn passive sourcing, so they will never go again back to the job portals, right? They will never look for the resumes. Ultimately, they will ask the resumes through LinkedIn, but the first viewpoint, they will go through the person profile through LinkedIn, and then they can obviously take the real-time updates from LinkedIn if a person is a good match or not. They can always look for the background. They can always look for the skills I mentioned in each of the employment. So yes, definitely resume and LinkedIn both are interconnected, but I would still say more than 50% of, obviously the research shows that 77% of recruiters look at the LinkedIn profile, but I would still say maximum hiring nowadays are done through LinkedIn, right, as compared to the job portals, or as compared to multiple portals right now. So always try to make sure that your LinkedIn is up to date. Always try to include each and every skill set which you have recently added in your professional experiences. Try to add those skill set in the LinkedIn profile. It's very, very important. And trust me, we are coming from a recruiting background, and we always look for LinkedIn profile. We always keep looking for LinkedIn of the candidate. It hardly takes few seconds to scan the resume and the LinkedIn, right? We always look for the recommendation. We always look for the endorsement. We always look for the mutual connection. The mutual connections are very, very important. As a recruiting professional, uh, uh, even for that matter, as a recruiter, if a person is working as a recruiter, that person I'm sure that person should have more than 5,000 connections. So there are multiple common connections which a person can utilize, and accordingly they can search the candidates. So try to prepare your LinkedIn profile in a best appropriate manner, so that if somebody wants to reach out to you directly without you apply for any job, they can do it. If you have the LinkedIn profile updated, it will be easy for anybody else to reach out to you directly. Yes, try to maintain your profile really well, right? So yes, resume and LinkedIn connections are really important. Um, any question on this? Okay, personal branding beyond the resumes. Obviously, there are multiple things. As a techie, you can always use GitHub. You can always use your work samples, which you can save in Google Drive, or you can, for that matter, you can use your portfolio or website or any personal footprint. So anything which will be very helpful for a person to look additionally, apart from the content written in the resume. If you can showcase your experiences to the other person who is hiring for that particular role, that will be easy for them. And personal branding is very, very important. And please try and understand this thing. If you can sell yourself to anyone, that means you do have a skill set. If you are not able to sell yourself, that means first thing, you do not have the skill set. You're just applying for that job. If you're really confident about your skill set, that means you do have certain skills which you think that really important for that particular role, and you can definitely apply for that particular role. So try to make your resume, try to make your website, try to make you as a brand very, very impressive, so that other person, once they look into your profile, uh, the first thing they should think is, let's take this take that person for an interview. So it's very, very important to prepare yourself, prepare your brand, prepare your website properly, so that other person also look at it and feel very impressive. There's a research done by Forbes that suggests that 70% of employment screen candidates online before making a hiring decision. Why they do it? Because they create a personal website showcasing their work samples. Work samples are really very important. It can be anything. It can show your achievements. It can show your dashboarding skills. It can show your pictorial representation, your statistics. It can be anything. So samples can be anything. Websites can be anything. Whatever you think that is the best way which you can represent in the portfolio and the work sample, you can add those things. Engage on LinkedIn. Obviously, LinkedIn will act as a medium where you can add those websites or portfolio or samples, and the other person who is looking at your profile without sending you a connection request, they can look at it first, and then accordingly they can reach out to you as well. You can also add your email ID. You can also add your phone number in LinkedIn, so that other person who is looking at your profile right now, they can reach out to you, if they do have any position for you. So preparing a good LinkedIn, preparing a good resume is really important. But apart from that, preparing you as a brand is also very, very important. And these are the certain pointers to which you can prepare yourself really well, right? Preparing a website and portfolio as well. Yeah, that's it. Okay, proofreading. So this is very basic, right? And very, very important as well. So while doing a proofreading, it is very, very crucial when you while formatting a resume, because it ensures that there is no grammatical error, there are no typos, there are no inconsistency, which can make a candidate appears more professional, right, and detail oriented. Because a well-proofed resume enhance readability and ensures that the key skills and experience are clearly communicated. So proofreading is really very important, because ultimately that shows your more professionalism. Because ultimately, if you're presenting yourself and there are multiple grammatical errors, there are multiple typos, that means you're not professional. And ultimately, nobody wants to read the resume where there are multiple grammatical errors. If you're not using a full stop, that means you're not ending your sentence. That also shows your non-professionalism as well. So just try to make sure from your end that you're utilizing each and everything which can be a upscaling thing, and which can present you as a brand. So just try to make sure that no grammatical, no typos, your resume is properly formatted, your font size is properly there, no spacing, right? Your photograph is properly pasted, no big size, no small size, just a medium size, and accordingly you can attach your photograph, your website, your work sample should be there. So these things are really important, which will definitely create a good impact on the other person who's looking at your profile. So yes, I would say proofreading is very basic, but again, this is very, very important as well. Okay, I think we covered this one, but again, I would reiterate this particular slide. So we spoke about adding a video page. We spoke about adding a particular video if you want to sell yourself, or let's say if you're applying for any particular job and you think that you can share your resume to the hiring team, but you can also share a particular video link to them, so that a small blurb about your experiences. You can record that session, and accordingly you can share that particular link to the you can paste on that on the resume. So either way is possible. You can add that particular URL in the resume, or you can add a QR code in the resume through which a manager can scan and quickly get your video downloaded. So there are multiple QR code generator as well. Code Monkey, Canva, and then Flow Code as well. So there are multiple links to the hosted video as well. YouTube, you can create a YouTube video. You can paste a URL in the on the resume. So there are multiple things which you can use for you to sell your skill set. But just try to make sure that it should not look very overhyped. Also, it should be within the boundaries as well. Because if you try to each and everything, and ultimately, if a manager thinks that this person is doing a lot of things which are not necessary, that will also be a negative impact on your professionalism as well. So accordingly, create your profile. Whichever thing is important for you, accordingly you can do it. Right. So there are multiple ways where you by which you can present yourself. Okay. Any question or any doubt?
No, sir.
I'm sorry.
Well, no questions, guys. I mean, if you have anything, you can ask. Yeah, Melvin.
How frequently should one update the resume who's a passive job seeker? Okay, it depends on you, Malvin. So it depends on you particularly. See, if you want to look the job market, and if you want to see whether is there any position in the market is available for you, and if there is, then you can definitely go through it. But so accordingly, you can do it. So I would say, do not post your resume in any of the job portals, because ultimately, if you're working in any of the organization, they will see your profile. So it's better to keep your LinkedIn updated. If there is any position which is available for you, or if there is any other recruiter who reach out to you, accordingly you can talk to them, get more details about the job. And there is one section in LinkedIn where you can click on that particular section, and you can hide your current organization, but you can be available for open to work basically, but you can hide your current company. So in that section, if you click it, then you will be available for other people, but for your organization, your current organization, they won't see it. Right. So accordingly, you can be in the market, and accordingly the other people can reach out to you. So it all depends on you. If you want to actively look out for a new job, then you can obviously post your resume. You can get some referral from your from other people, and they can refer you as well. But if you're looking for passive purpose, then I think LinkedIn is the best way, because obviously good opportunities often comes, and if you get the good opportunities, obviously everybody should go for it. I hope that answers your question.
Anyone else, guys? Before we conclude the meeting? No, I believe not. Well, well, thank you guys so much for joining in our today's webinar. Okay, I hope we especially hope that this webinar was insightful, and some way somehow it was useful to your career ahead. I mean, it's going to help you write your own resume in the right and the correct way. And you can definitely reach out to us if you have any further questions, even in the future. Please stay tuned, because we do this webinar every month, or a couple of times a month. So you can follow the page. You can find these updates on daily basis. We will post this webinar on our website, and we will post it on YouTube as well. So you can, if anytime you want to go through it, revisit it, you can do that. A special thanks to Ashish Rawat. Ashish, thank you for being part of this webinar, presenting this webinar. It was a very useful information that you shared with us. And to the joinees here, you can follow Ashish Rawat on LinkedIn. You can connect with him anytime in the future if you have any questions or maybe any queries. He can definitely help you out. So thank you, Ashish, as well. And we will post our next webinar in the next couple of weeks. So if you would like to join that one, that this is going to be a big one. So a different topic entirely, but definitely if you would like to join, then you can follow us on our page, and we can stay connected. All right. All right. I believe as of now, good evening and have a great day ahead and have a great Sunday. Maybe we'll see on the next video, next webinar meeting. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Elvin. Thank you, Joel, and everyone. Thank you.